How you doing there, guys? This is Kyle with Dirt Bike Channel. You are watching. You've made it. So thank you so much for coming over here. Today on this ride, we're actually down in southern Utah, and this is a really fun, really fun trail to ride. It's something that I did first back in, I think it was January of 2013. I went out with Scott and Sam, and we did this trail here in southern Utah, and I hadn't been back to it since. And I remember thinking back, 6 years ago, there were a number of these kind of like little hill climb things where you pop up on top of these little bluffs and things. I remember thinking a number of them were intimidating. And then when I came back here this time, the only thing I could think is just how much fun it was. I had so much more fun on this trail this time 6 years later than I did originally when I went on it the first time. And obviously speeds had increased and my skill level had increased, and it was just a joy to ride. But another thing it got me thinking about the life cycle of an actual trail. I was talking about this with a gentleman up here near where I live that has built a lot of trails over the years. You know who you are. Mr. Black, and we were just talking about how each trail has a life cycle. When it's first kind of cut in and put in, it has a certain taste to it and a certain personality to it, which maybe only certain people are going to enjoy. It might be hard to see, it might be really technical, there might be a lot of places that are tough to go through, just depending on the terrain that you're putting the trail into. But then as time goes on and as more and more people ride it, it starts to evolve, and the life cycle of that trail really takes on its own kind of its own life. And then it gets more and more cut in, and certain parts of it may get easier, certain parts of it may get harder, but lines will get created, and generally they get a little bit easier in that first part of their life cycle. And then as more and more bikes ride them, and then there's a certain demographic of riders that like that trail. Then as it gets more and more ridden, maybe the ruts get deeper and certain things get more and more whooped out, and it enters kind of its mature stage where the widest variety of people may like it, but then, the people who cut in the trail, those people stop liking it as much, and they maybe start wanting to go find another trail. And as the trail gets more and more ridden, maybe it becomes so whooped out that some riders don't like it at all, whereas more of the high-speed riders, they really like it, and they start riding it a ton. And so these trails there's a whole life cycle, and you can start to think about it on the trail systems that you have. There's a whole kind of dynamic to this where throughout the life of the trail it appeals to different riders at different times, and then eventually the trails need serious maintenance, maybe by picks and shovels or something else, or even trail cats in some situations where they need to be maintained and have some of the bumps shaved off. And what we've got to do as riders and OHV users, off-highway users, is we've got to band together and figure out how to maintain trails and figure out how to be good resources, be good stewards of the land. We're not trying to destroy anything, but we do need to be good stewards and realize that there is a life cycle to every one of the trails that we have.
Freak, man. Garrett is hauling. I rode with him a year and a half ago. Holy Jezebel, he was nowhere near this fast. And that's the thing, guys. Garrett has improved leaps and bounds, not by spending a crap ton of money on gear or different bikes. Yes, he is riding a different bike than he was at that time. But how has he improved? Seat time. By putting gas and tires gas and tires, boys. Lots of seat time. Practice. Riding.
Oh,